Are you on your way, Sean?
Oh, say that last part again?
Sean, are you on your way here to be in person?
Yeah, I'm on my way to be in person. Yep.
If it's okay with you, I'm gonna start the meeting and I'll turn it over when you get here. Is that all right?
That sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right, all that said, I'd like to call to order this joint meeting of the Newark Public Utility Board of Commissioners and Sewer Authority for Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. As usual, all those who are calling in by Zoom or by telephone, I would ask you to mute your device when you're not speaking, and when you are speaking, to state your name for clarity of the record. And with that, we'll move on to the 15-minute public comment period. Are there any members of the public here this evening who would like to speak?
No members of the public other than Attorney Karen, who's here for a matter.
Right. All right, hearing none. If any members of the public do arrive late, we can always reopen agenda item number 2. All right, moving on to approval of the minutes. We have several because we had several special meetings. We have gotta get this right now, we've got the Board and Sewer Authority meeting, which was October 28th. We also had a special meeting on October 29th and another one on November 3rd.
29th or 28th?
Says here. Minutes, special board meetings on October 29th and 3rd. Does that sound right?
28.
The board meeting was the 28th, the special meeting was the day after.
That's what I thought, that's what I said. So the special meeting was 29th and November 3rd, is that right? I meant to write that down before I had it in front of me, and I'm sorry I don't. I believe that's what they said. Okay, so we have 3 sets of, let's start off with the first one. We have the agenda for, the minutes for the October 28th regular meeting of the NPU Board and Sewer Authority. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. Is there any discussion about the minutes? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, so those minutes pass. I will lump these 2 special board meetings together into one motion to speed things up a little bit. We had a special meeting on October 29th and another on November 3rd. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. So, thank you.
Second.
Bill, second. Jerry, thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, all 3 minutes are approved, which brings us to agenda item 6, which is the information and updates provided to the board. Start off with the financial update. Are there any questions or comments on the financial update? I see we're burning through sewer money pretty quickly.
Spend a lot every month.
Yeah, a little bit.
There was a lot of timing things happening in this month,
Yeah.
and that's why we're a little bit lower,
I
so.
see that, yeah. All right. Delightful.
Can I ask a question about financial reporting? And I didn't bring this with me, but 2 or 3 meetings ago, when Kevin Brown was here and they were asking for some additional money for work at Aqua Industrial Center, we got a 1-page document that showed board expenses or something to that effect. And it had the $750 or whatever it is, $1,000 for economic development as the maximum and what was allocated. And it had other money for, going off to educational things and to conferences and so forth and so on. And I looked at that and I was surprised because I think it's inappropriate. I think that, first of all, every budget item is approved by the board, so there's no such thing as a board item per se. Secondly, I don't think economic development is a little allocation to the little club of board members. I think it is a general fundamental Norwood Public Utilities Initiative. And so I have no problem keeping conferences and whatnot under a board expense on in the financial records. But I think economic development ought to be as much of a part of the regular budget as, paying the lineman.
So it is in the budget, that is approved and everything else.
Yeah.
We just highlight what is specifically designated for the board for designated funds for approval. So if we come forward and say we need some money for economic development, we bring it to the board, and you guys would say, yes, that's good. But you also have the opportunity to say, hey, here's how we can spend it, and that's what we decided at that meeting, was to put $275,000 towards the engineering design for.
But my point is, and like I say, first of all, every expense is a board expense. If you want to get right down to it. And secondly, I think economic development is a fundamental core Norwich Public Utilities expense, just like everything else. What the amount is approved by the board, I understand that. But I think it's a fundamental expense, not a sort of a parochial specialized expense for board activities like going to conferences is. So I just.
It's just if we put miscellaneous in there, we don't have a lot of miscellaneous things in the budget. That's why it's, something where if it's specific, specifically comes up, we want to have everyone engaged in approving. But it's in the budget as such, and
Yeah, so the dollar amount that's put together with the budget is based on the calculation. And in many cases, in the past several years, we've had dollars decided at the beginning of the year as to how much we were going to contribute towards NCDC. But we didn't have specific project for the rest of the dollars. And that's kind of where that board process comes into play is which specific projects. Because we want to make sure that we're supporting economic development, but it gives the board the opportunity to say, okay, we held the dollars aside. This is what we're going to do with it.
My point is about classification.
Mhm.
I think it's a core
Yep.
expense.
And
I think going to conferences is an arbitrary expense for board members. And I think taking economic development out of our core expenses is no different than taking $150 million bond issue that we approved. Taking that out, making that a board expense.
Yeah, but wouldn't those board expenses be classified under professional development?
they are.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. When I see that, I think of that
so,
umbrella.
and it would all be in the financial report in different areas. You would see training under professional development. You would see the economic development under G&A. So it really kind of just depends where you would have those things classified in the financials. It's more of a presentment process.
Yep,
For
well,
the
I'm not
budget.
totally correct, but I just wanted to express my opinion.
Thank you, Robert. Are there any additional questions on the financial update? All right, hearing none, we have the leadership team template. Are there any questions or comments? I had one, believe it or not. Here. You're elected. Hey, Bill, you're right on time. Start the meeting, but you can take over from here, and then Sean's gonna be here in a few minutes. Three presenters tonight, you know that? That's a first, huh?
Sorry.
We're on the leadership team template right now.
You can Jerry, and I take Jerry's stuff.
And Sean is online.
Oh, he's on.
Yeah.
All right, hang on, where we are, electric, old phone, here we go. I had it earlier. Anyways, there was a line item in there, here we go, electric. Line item in there. About, let's see. Electric, yeah, system planning study.
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked at it, said that it's gonna be done in the second quarter, is that still on track, 26, second quarter?
Yeah, there was some upgrades that had to be done to the GIS system that have put a little extra couple of steps in, so, but we are progressing and we're using Burns and Cowell to do that stuff.
We haven't talked about electric, the whole system in a long time, so when that, either before or when that study is complete, could we get a complete whatever the study says we're going to do, because it talked about the 34.5 ring, final design being held up until this study is finished. So that's the whole big
And that
picture, I
was
guess.
the purpose behind it, was to take a holistic look at where we're at. We've got, deferred O&M items that need to be worked in there. We've got significant capital upgrades. We're talking about a new substation, a lot of things. So wait a minute, it's kind of like technology plan. We got so many things going on. Let's have somebody with this level of expertise look at how we're prioritizing those things, because we can't do it all at once.
Right.
And that's ultimately going to inform our capital plan going forward. So we're more than happy not more than happy, we would be planning on.
Having a presentation
Yeah,
sometime
and
next
then
spring.
building the model now, and out of that model is gonna tell us what our current capabilities are.
Yeah.
And then using that model to be able to determine what we need to do for the future.
Okay.
And it's gonna be right around that time when we're gonna sort of know what our capabilities are and then we'll move forward with that. In the meantime, as Jeff was saying, we have a lot of other stuff going on in the system, that we're working on in conjunction with that, so.
Okay.
To keep things moving along as we're doing the modeling and.
Losing Eric McDermott, do we lose any knowledge of, working knowledge of?
I mean, anytime you have staff turnover, there's going to be a transition, but we've got.
We have a team of engineers. We have a team of internal engineers as well as external consultants that we've been working with. They're gonna continue it.
All right, Simone, let the minutes reflect that Sean was here at 6:15. Now, we're on the financial team template. Got past that. I'm sorry, leaving service, I misspoke.
So we're right now, we did the template, and it was one question, unless you have questions. Now we're at the customer service chat. Bill, you have a question?
I have a couple questions. So the Fish Hill Road, project, is that in Montville or is that Norwich?
That's in Monville.
Wow.
We're talking, which project? Are we talking about the tank or?
Mitchell Water?
It's 59 Fish Hill Road, Uncasville.
That's the Fish Hill Road tank. Yeah.
It's water.
That's more tank. Yeah, that's a Richard Brown tank. That's a repainting of the tank.
On Fish Hill Road, it's on Fish Hill Road?
Yeah, we serve that part of Monville still off of our system. Yeah.
And then the other question I had, any news on Basra completing their grant application?
All right, the day after we met with them, I sent them all the latest cost estimates we've ever seen over the last few years. We haven't heard feedback from their attorney, their engineer, or the first level.
Yeah, so they need to go to a public referendum or town meeting to get this officially finally approved. And they are committed to doing it. Our last meeting was what, 3 weeks ago with Glenn? And,
All right,
yeah.
so it's on.
Yeah, and I've also talked to their person who heads up their finance committee, and they are also committed to making this happen.
I think that was it for me. Yep.
Good. Okay. So moving right along, on our customer service dashboard. Okay.
Well, maybe you could answer one question for me, Shane. So when we get the weekly updates from the general manager, I mean, each weekly update, the number of people delinquent in payments, the notices going out to them, has increased 2,000 to 3,000 per month. So is that 33,000 customers
It's cumulative over the whole year.
over 1 year, so 33,000?
It's from January 1.
Right, so okay.
Things a lot.
Seven bid is 33,000?
No, it's about the same time last year.
If I understand correctly, that's total number of notices. So that
Yeah.
means they call in, they pay, it's resolved,
They're not.
it's still counted as a notice in the Senate.
First warning.
So if the delinquent in January, but 100 are delinquent in January, and the same 100 are delinquent in February, is that 200 or 100? It's 200?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's total number of notices mailed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sean, the two resolutions for the board and the two resolutions for the sewer authority, we'll have Mike Andriana, our bond counsel, go over those later, so he'll discuss them, and then we can ask questions then. These are just provided for information, so you know what we'll be voting on and discussing today.
Problem. We just take no review of that, but you can vote that on. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct.
So we'll have the two resolutions for the MPU board. We'll vote on those later, correct?
Yeah.
All right, great. We move on to the CMAC report.
Can I ask one other question? Yeah, as we mentioned, your report, Chris, and I don't know if I misread things or not, but the fourth paragraph talks about Bill being approached by a reporter asking about green energy and that sort of thing. And the next sentence or two talked about postponing the Yantic project and so forth. And it wasn't clear to me whether one was in reaction to the other or.
No, we just don't want to report on the story before we have the approval to go forward with.
So the report is interested in weather-driven developments on our system, if there's climate-related problems or challenges. And one that was suggested was the Yannick substation.
Yeah.
Because it's going to go before the siting council, we didn't want to be seen as promoting it and have, bring more attention to something with a pending application. It's an interesting story, it's probably something we could look at, but we don't want to have that influence the siting council process. Perhaps the gas station where there was the flooding last time could be something we could talk about, but it's just having the sensitivity around deliberations by the siting council in the months ahead.
All right.
Yeah, I think just not being seen as working the rest ahead of. We can talk about how wonderful it's gonna be when they've got to make them partially think about it. It just it's not worth the risk of making it appear as though we're trying to influence.
Yeah.
And everyone's in favor of that right now. Let's not.
Yeah, that's why I asked you first, if it's all right for, for me to be, for you guys.
So we're gonna see if we can find something with the gas substation, the gas regulator station that flooded. If there's some of the stuff that we're doing, or we can show what the impact on that was like a year ago in January, February. So we're looking at a couple different things we just want to be careful about.
Did you touch base with them?
I did, I wanted to make sure that we sent that out on Friday and wanted to make sure that you were comfortable. Then I can reach out to her next week and say, we're looking at a couple different things.
You have her contact?
Yes, it was on an email.
Good.
All right, so any other questions in regards to that? All right, we move on to our CMAC report.
Okay, there was not a CMAC meeting since our last meeting, so I do not have a report. Our annual meeting is Thursday, and that means I get to wear a tie. So, see, I'm the last person to wear a tie at that meeting. So, all right.
I wasn't planning on wearing a tie, now I have to. Stuart?
I'm telling you, I'm wearing one.
At least he told you.
It's up to you, it's up to you.
Bring your time, Chris.
Right side.
Folks, they're gonna wonder why the two of us are wearing ties, and nobody else.
Hey, if I need to wear a bow tie, I'm gonna take Bob, and Bob's gonna.
You can borrow one of my bow ties.
So that's all I had for this month.
So moving right on to topic number 8, strategic presentations. First, we have a presentation on the 4 resolutions that were provided to the board last week. How would you like to proceed?
That's where we're gonna have Attorney Mike Andriana will walk us through the need for these resolutions, and they're gonna be 2 for sewer authority and 2 for the sewer authority and for the board of commissioners. And Mike, the floor is yours.
Sure. Good evening. Well, I met me before, Mike Andriana from Pullman Conley. We really have 2 sets of resolutions. The first 2 I'm going to talk about are super straightforward. They're the resolutions relating to signatory authorization for the NPU and for the sewer authority. And these all relate to when we do clean water fund financings with the state. One of the state's requirements is they need to see a resolution from, in this case, both the MPU board and the sewer authority authorizing someone at MPU to sign the documents with the state. And until now, that person that's been authorized has always been solely the general manager. So for the most part, that works out fine. Of course, it's fairly easy to track down, but there are certain instances where Chris might be on vacation and we need to get something signed. The only way we can do that now is for Chris, in a writing, even an email, to designate someone else to sign on behalf of MPU. So we thought going forward, in order to make life easier for everyone, would be to have new signatory authorizations for both the MPU board and the sewer authority that would permit the general manager, the assistant general manager, or any division manager on an individual basis to sign on behalf of those entities. The state's fine with this. It just then gives us a little more flexibility. If we can't track down someone, it gives us larger numbers to find someone that falls within those categories. So both the signatory resolutions are exactly the same. As I said, one's for the MPU board, which is on really the kind of the drinking water side when we get funding from the state, and then the sewer authority is on the sewer side. So those are what those two resolutions are about. The other two resolutions are going to require a little more explanation. I'll give you a little history first. I won't make this too long, but so MPU, I would say, in the state is unique in its clean water fund financing because it's solely the revenues of MPU, whether it be the sewer division or the water division, that secures the repayment to the state. Most financings done with the state includes like a general obligation pledge of the city or town where it is. MPU doesn't need that. It makes our life easier in some ways. But one of the things, because it's strictly a revenue pledge, we have these documents which are called joint resolutions. They were created back in the 90s. We still use them. It's basically a contract between NPU. There's a trustee that we use, which is US Bank. They're based out of Hartford, and the state of Connecticut, which is really the sole holder of all of your clean water fund debt. So when you borrow money from the state for a clean water fund project, it's basically the state is loaning the money, they're the holder of the debt, and our obligation to repay is to the state. So we've been operating under these resolutions for a long, long time. One of the requirements under the resolutions are anytime you need to do an additional clean water fund financing from the state, basically you have to provide a certificate that shows that MPU kind of has sufficient revenues on hand to satisfy your future debt service obligations. It's effectively a 7-year test where you look back 1 year, you look at your current year, and you project out 5 years. And what NPU has to show is that the revenues for that division, whether it be water or sewer, is sufficient to cover 100% of the operating expenses. And then the tricky part, and what we're getting into tonight, is plus 120% of that division's what's called maximum annual debt service. So maximum annual debt service doesn't mean just what the current debt service is. It means you look out into the future, and whatever year has the largest debt service number, your revenues have to cover 120% of that number plus 100% of operating expenses. NPU has always met that test. Thing is, now as we're moving forward, particularly with the wastewater treatment facility and the size of that debt, the concern is that we could get to a point where that max annual debt service number is so high that to meet the test, the 120% of debt service plus 100% of operating expenses, there might be instances where the revenues just don't cover that number. And that's not outrageous, because if you think your annual revenues should cover your annual expenses for that year, and that's not going to be a problem. The question is, if you're looking here at year 1 and your max annual debt service is year 8, and you have to take 120% of that number, that's a big number. In some ways, kind of a number that's, you know, not ever really going to have to be paid, but it's a number we have to satisfy. So realizing this, we went back to the state as NPU's kind of sole debt holder and said, we anticipate that this issue might be coming up in the future, and we're trying to come up with a solution now that satisfies that. So we've been having discussions, I could say probably for a year about this, going back and forth. And where we came out was that the state will permit us to, in addition to revenues, have like a designated, what we've called debt coverage fund, where NPU could put its cash into that fund. And then the monies in that fund, the amount of monies, and this would all be scheduled based on projections, would be deducting from your max annual debt service number so that your revenues can cover that number. So it's just an additional way to meet the tests. And it's really only to meet the tests, because the way this works is, as long as NPU makes its debt service payment in these kind of high years, then they can take the money out of the debt coverage fund and use it for whatever purpose it wants to. So the money, 1, is not locked in there, and 2, it makes sure that NPU can continue to borrow from the state and meet these tests. So the resolutions about using cash reserves and having these supplemental resolutions, that's how we're going to amend this document that's been around for 35 years. It's really dealing with that issue. The only other thing we covered in the supplemental resolutions was when the original resolutions were drafted back in the 90s, there was a provision that NPU had to put a year's worth of debt service kind of set aside in a fund, just as an emergency fund if for some reason they didn't make its payments. Based on NPU's history of making payments, we've been able to negotiate that down with the state to only having to fund 2 months of debt service. Got nervous there. Only 2 months of debt service. So what we wanted to do was memorialize that agreement with the state and put that into the supplemental resolution as well. So those are really the 2 things: this reduction of the debt service reserve fund and the establishment of this kind of debt coverage fund, cash reserves, to meet the additional debt tests.
Would that be all of the cash in the division, or just what we need to cover that fund?
So Val has a spreadsheet. It is about 30 plus years long.
Okay.
And she goes through and calculates out all of the debt service, figures out that number, and it's that incremental amount that we would need. So we've gone through and looked at what we're going to need over the next couple of years, and it's going to ebb and flow with the sewer plant. It's all based on how that debt comes online. So it wouldn't be all of the dollars, it would be an incremental amount, and again, ebbing and flowing based on where the MADS is at. Once some of the bigger debt falls off and we're past those years, that MADS number will change. It will also change depending upon any other projects, and it also will have a different look in water compared to sewer. So it really gives us the flexibility, and it also helps us manage how the rate track looks, because if it all is hinging on revenue, then we're talking about rates to cover those revenues. And your rates could, in theory, if you were attempting to meet this, they could go like this, where you'd be going up because you need these revenues, then they could be going down, or they could be artificially up because your MADS is so big for so long with a $200 million plan. So this really does help us manage our cash flow better.
But it helps there, but now you've taken a portion of your cash and you've dedicated it to this fund.
But a small portion, not all of the portion, yes.
I get that,
Yep.
but now that cash on hand is reduced.
But we would take that into effect when we're building that rate track.
Okay.
So that we know that, okay, this is how much the rates are gonna generate for revenues, here's what we're gonna have in cash, this is what we're going to set aside, and this is what we're going to use to actually pay our bills.
Was that done this last rate discussion we had, or is this gonna be for the next one?
So all of the authorizations are for going future.
Future, sure, so it hasn't been agreed to yet, but was it discussed with your rate,
It has been something that we've been discussing with the state for more than a year now.
with the state? What about the rate person that we?
So because of all of the debt not coming online yet, the sewer MADS isn't at that big number where we were concerned about not meeting our debt test. And then if you remember looking at the presentation that we had the last several years with Baker Tilly,
Yeah.
this is one of the tests we do. This is where we don't want to end up in technical default, because that's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. Okay, but Baker Tilly was aware of this strategy. that-
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
All right. Thanks.
In terms of the signatories on the bid, does that make, is it all right if, say, the gas and electric managers sign off on stuff related to sewer and water?
No, so here's what my expectation is that the general manager will always still sign these.
Yeah.
But if he's not there, he will designate who could sign, of the group. Just, hey, you're gonna be covering this. And it could be the, Steve doing it operations, it could be Laura doing it from a financial standpoint. But I'm saying this, but I'm not gonna be the guy that does. Yeah. But that is the expectation going in, is it still is the general manager who has the overarching expertise. But if he's gone, it's the next best manager. When I was in Italy, I was doing business by text, but I was not signing things. And I guess I could have, but that was not the intent.
Yeah.
So if it was urgent, I had my, I had a facility.
Yeah, it's about what, 8 hours difference? No, 6 in Germany.
Oh, it's 6. And then we had daylight savings was earlier there, so it was only 5 when I left. They did it the week before
I
us.
think they have that in Germany.
But to Chris's point there, the state still requires wet signatures. So we couldn't use DocuSign if the general manager was in Europe.
Stop.
They want to see a wet signature on the document.
So hard copy original signatures on all of those forms.
Yep.
Someday,
They usually
We'll get
sit down with the city manager and go through a whole process, with notary.
We're not faxing things in.
we are not faxing things. We're definitely not faxing things, but we still have to have physical original signatures. Someday we'll move to electronic, maybe.
With that being said, moving on to actions, number 9. To form a contract with a new general manager.
Yeah. We leave that off?
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you, Sean. Okay, as you're aware, Chris is retiring, so we formed a subcommittee for succession planning. The board hired Attorney Plum, who's with us this evening, via Zoom, via WebEx. And Sean and I met with Attorney Plum and brought out a contract based largely on the existing contract. And then that went to the candidate, We went back and forth several times. The board met 3 times, I believe, in special session to talk about proposals and counter proposals. And after the last meeting, we reached agreement, so all parties are in agreement to the contract. And the last part of that is that we have to do a vote in public session to agree to the terms of the contract. So that's why we're here tonight. I wanted to thank Attorney Plum, who did a fantastic job helping the board. As I say, we went back and forth several times. Obviously, he's very knowledgeable for, labor contracts and helped us tremendously. And that was helpful. I also wanted to say that doing this sort of thing is not my favorite thing at all. And I don't think any of our favorite thing, because it gets contentious when you start talking about, especially salary, things like that. And there's a lot of going back and forth and disagreement about what the value of an employee is. And I don't like thinking about a person and their value. A person is competent to do the job, and they're capable, and we have an obligation to pay them what they're worth. But we spent quite a bit of time talking about that specific thing. But in the end, we reached agreement. All parties agreed. One thing we did take out of the contract was the car stipend, which has been in the contract for a long time. It was reduced when Chris's 2 contracts, we reduced it down to roughly half its value. And for this contract, we took it out completely, with the thinking that there's company vehicles that are available for use at any time. So making a special provision for a car doesn't seem to be appropriate anymore. But other than that, I guess we have to have a motion, I guess. Is that sound about right?
Yes.
Were there any, well, let's do the motion, then we'll ask for questions or comments. How's that sound? Yeah, well, that'd be during questions or comments. Well, before we get, not quite sure the best way to do this. I guess I'll ask for a motion, and then there'll be questions and comments. And then I'd ask Attorney Plum to offer any, answer any questions people have, and he can offer comment if he'd like. So I entertain a motion to approve the new general manager's contract that we all agreed to at our last special meeting.
Second.
Do I have a first? First is Sean, do I have a second? Robert, okay. I have a first and a second. Are there any questions or comments on the contract that was agreed to?
Yeah, I have a specific. Just for background, for people who aren't aware of this, my father worked here for 25 years as a machinist over in the old electric generating area, and as a watch engineer. So I'm very familiar with it, with the NPU, and very thankful for his employment. And I'm very proud of the service that we provide, both on an emergency basis, on a regular basis. And I consider a lot of you to be friends, and I support all of you. I don't want to turn this into anything that is contentious or anything of that sort. However, at my urging, we included a provision in the contract that calls for the Board of Commissioners directing the employee to evaluate NPU's personnel structure and consultants and contractors with the idea of holding down the budget as much as possible. I think the budget is something that we need to manage, and we need to manage it carefully. And I think the fact that that is going to be a priority in the next administration, and I'm not being critical to Chris, but it is a very important thing.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while since we've done that. So we would be hopeful to do that next year sometime, if not sooner. Yeah, thanks, Bob. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, well, all that said, then hearing none. All those in favor of the new general manager's contract as presented, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Phil. Are there any abstentions?
could I,
Yes, go ahead.
I have something written down I'd like to. Sure. Is that okay, Sean?
What do you want me to say?
So, vote with nay, bear with me, I know I'm probably, singing to the choir here, but, NPU is a municipal agency, not a private utility, like you, Eversource or, UI. Compared to similarly sized municipal utilities in Connecticut that I researched, NPU managers are paid more generously. Norwich is an economically distressed community where NPU customers have difficulty paying their bills, judging by the 34,000 termination notices sent to customers as identified in GM's last weekly update. That number is increasing significantly. I've seen a jump 2,000 or 3,000 from August to present. And that number, is incredible. And I read in the other day that 10% of our customers are applying, more than 2,000 applying for energy assistance. We need help. And when I look at NPU's website, our role as commissioners is to provide fiscal and strategic oversight and be accountable for NPU's performance and representing the best interests of citizens. Approving this contract, I'm not fulfilling my role as a commissioner. In my opinion, compensating the new GM more than the current GM is not a practice that I can condone or approve. Chris has been the 6 years of experience as a general manager and more than a decade as assistant general manager. The current candidate has been assistant general manager for about 1 year, is being paid a higher salary than Chris. Although I do not support the compensation package, I want to emphasize that I regard Jeff as a valued and highly capable employee of NPU. As a commissioner, I fully respect his abilities, and moving forward, I will support him 100% in his leadership role as Chris's successor, ensuring that NPU continues in a strong and positive direction and providing unwavering service to customers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Congratulations.
So as long as we're commenting, maybe I dreamed this, but I thought we just talked about the number of cancellation notices and how they're an accumulation on a month-by-month basis, and they're not growing per se, they're being accumulated. So 10 months is less than 11 months because the 11th month is added to that number. It's not 34,000. It's 34,000 divided by 10.
Right, but that number is increasing. If you look at, weekly updates going back a month or 2 months ago, it was 25,000, it's 28,000. And
Okay.
Well, anyways, all that said, it's important, and I emphasize with the board as a subcommittee chairman, that a person should speak their convictions and build it very loudly during all of our meetings, and that's important. It's a difference of opinion. It's not going to get resolved here, and I think it's important that if a person has a different voice, that they speak it and not feel cowed that they can't speak because there's, they're going to be in the minority. Well, so what? Just speak your voice and Bill did it. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gary?
I want to throw my 2 cents in there.
Thank you, sir.
As a general manager, that's our point of contact in the board. We're not making the grade in any way, shape, or form. It's up to us as a board to approach the manager and ask him where best to find savings in an organization. I think it's rather short-sighted of us to approve every raise that came across here without much discussion and fuss and muss. And then nickel and dime the head guy, lack of better words. Now, I understand we're a distressed community. They didn't cause it. We didn't cause it. That's caused by people not having the economics behind them to afford to live here. How many people are on public assistance? It's a huge portion, right? Every time we go for an increase, we're pushing them down. I say it's kind of late to shut the horse, how do you say, the barn. All the horses are already gone. Shut the door of the barn, so to speak. I think that as a board and a commission, we should go to Jeff and say, Jeff, this is your marching orders. This is what we expect. For instance, for me, it's personal because I was on the council. I know that NPU offers a certain wage to the city, a percentage point. Well, we were $1 million short last year. Everybody got the raise and everything else. Well, that didn't sit well with me. Really did. And I will approach Jeff on ways how to make up that shortfall. You know, the employees are the greatest assets we have. I lived in Eversource Lane for a long time before I came to Norwich. And the level of expertise that we have in our utility is second to none. This is the best utility in the state of Connecticut, in my eyes. You know, I turn wrenches, I run wire, I install lights. This is what I do for a living. Is this utility perfect? Absolutely, by no means it isn't, but it's pretty darn good. You know, people here stay here in these jobs for a long time. For people who stay in those positions, those are our greatest assets. Because they're the people that, when we need to find savings in this organization, they're the ones who have firsthand knowledge on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, I respect you for saying what you say, though, and, you know, as a human being, and as a board member, I respect you, because sometimes it's not easy to go against the current in the river. But that's pretty much all I want to say. Thank you.
Just one quick comment. I agree this is a distressed community, but there have been so many people involved in moving ahead with the Ockham Industrial Center, and what potentially and very probably is going to be the single biggest economic benefit to occur in Norwich in decades. We sometimes forget this board and this Norwich Public Utilities started that project. And we did more, or assuming it goes forward, we did more to assist the distressed nature of this community than any other organization in the city.
Well, you mind if I say something quick?
You can say whatever you want, Mr. Jeff.
First of all, I want to say it's an honor and a privilege, and I want to thank all of you for the support. I also want to thank Chris. He's been here 28 years. I either worked with or for Chris since the day I was hired. He's been a tremendous value to this organization, and I want to recognize that, and everyone will recognize that. So he's really helped to set me up to who I am and to carry this forward. And I also want to recognize everybody else here and who is not here. You're getting something with me, but you're getting the whole team. And I can only do this because of the team. So thank you for supporting all of us. I really do appreciate that. And, you know, we may disagree exactly on how to do it, but I think we all agree on providing the greatest value that we can to this community and to our customers. That is our goal and that is our mission as the utility. I look forward to working closely with all of you and with our community to accomplish that. So once again, thank you. I do truly consider this a privilege.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, with all that, I am done. The subcommittee is dissolved.
And thank you for getting this done, because I have a great team, but we need a leader to follow. And you have a great team and a great leader to push this utility moving forward and improve a lot of things that we set in place. Thank you.
Well, I think that.
Thank you, Attorney Plum.
Thank you. Yes. No, I want to thank everybody for all your assistance throughout this process. Stuart, thank you for the kind words. And also make sure we thank Michelle, who I emailed fairly regularly just to make sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. So it was a pleasure working with everyone, and I'm glad we got it done. And I certainly with Jeff and the board, the best going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. As a member of the distressed community that we speak about, myself, because I live in a distressed neighborhood, I believe.
Mine too.
I do, I know I do, so I'm part of this distressed community. It is no greater privilege and honor to be a part of this organization. First, I think you did an amazing job, leading us, through some of the tough years that some people probably would have folded doing what you've done, from what I hear from my recollection. So I want to give you the most highest honor salute, for a job well done. And, it's very difficult to find a replacement, but I don't think that there's any other person, at this moment right now, in the privilege to bring the work with Jeff, to help fulfill some of the things that you started and to contribute to the goals and the organization and the mission that you mentioned. I believe that we have our person in Jeff, so I just want to say thank you for your service. Jeff, welcome to Sleepless Nights. Yeah, not my problem, your problem.
Made a lot more gray hair. Lucky you have hair.
This is our problem now, and we support you, the best way we can, and, it definitely takes guts to go against the grain and speak up, and speak your mind, but Bill, I got the ultimate respect for you. For sharing those thoughts and sentiments, and also my co-commissioners, the committee, it's tough, it's not always easy, no one left, everyone left unharmed.
Little rattles like a little.
I'm gonna flip a couple tables over, but no physically harm was done to anybody, so everything is safe. But other than that, that being said, I don't have anything else, so I would just say congratulations to you, Jeff. We'll say welcome to the family, which you are family, so that's that. So.
And Sean, I actually don't live in a distressed community right now, but, I spent the first 10 years of my life in a 3-room apartment in the second floor of a triple decker that had no heat and no hot water. So.
About the work band to you?
Huh? That's what we did.
So with that being said, I was being a little facetious, but go ahead, Jerry.
Chris, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for restoring integrity to this organization. When I was on the council, I got my behind kicked on a regular basis because of what went on in this place and your predecessor. You've turned around the good name of this organization, and I approached you many times over when I was in that position. I gave you all the confidence, humble man and a good man. Nothing but respect and love for you, my friend. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. The city owes you a huge amount of gratitude for rescuing it from the situation.
Communicate to the. That's what we're gonna give you a key to the city. But I'm not gonna charge you that, sorry. Other than that, though, is there anything else? Anybody else want to share any sentimental moments? I want to respect everyone's feelings, because sometimes it's very difficult for us to open up and be vulnerable and give everyone else their flowers. So I want to make sure we do have an opportunity to give people their flowers. And I don't want to brush over that because sometimes those things are important as an organization, as a community, and as a family and commissioners. I believe those things are at the top of the list. So if you do have anything to share, now will be the time for you to share. Other than that, I will move on to the next agenda item if you want me to. Yep. All set. All set? All right, all those in favor? Oh, we did that already?
Already did that.
Board resolutions.
Total of 4.
4 resolutions.
We do 4 votes?
4 votes.
Yeah.
4 votes, okay.
Go ahead, Stu. Stu.
But you have it in front of you, you don't have one. Oh, bottom of the page here, right there.
Sorry, Stu.
Sorry about that.
No. So, here we are. Vote on NPU board resolution authorizing general manager, assistant general manager, and individual manager to execute all documents related to authorized transactions Hold on. Resolution approving the 36 supplemental resolution to the joint resolution of the city of Norwich and the Board of MPU Commissioners containing amendments to joint resolution. Is there a motion to go?
So, Mike, we should do them one at a time, right?
I wonder if we should do each one by.
Okay, my fault. One at a time or both?
Yeah, each one individual vote.
All right, here we go. So authorization, general manager, assistant general manager, and division managers.
Hold on, we're really to authorize.
Is there a motion?
I'll do the motion, Bill.
Okay, good job. All those in favor?
Aye.
And all those opposed? Any extensions? The motion passes. Great. Here we are, resolution approving the 36 supplemental resolution to the joint resolution of the city of Norwich and the Board of MPU Commissioners containing amendments to the joint resolution. Is there a motion to go ahead and approve these two resolutions?
I make it.
Gary, seconded by Bill. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. You. So, we are on to vote for sewer authority resolution, excuse me. Authorizing general manager, assistant general manager, and each division manager to execute all documents related to these authorized transactions.
Yep. And then you gotta get out for the motion made, ask for a motion.
Is there a motion? Bill makes the motion. We get a second. Jerry, great. Any discussions? All those in favor? All right. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Great. Board of Sewer Authority resolution approving the 36 supplemental resolution to the joint resolution of the city of Norwich and the Board of MPU Commissioners containing amendments to the joint resolutions. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
It's following the same as.
Well, I guess we have to do one for.
This is the 22nd.
For-
This is the last meeting.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
So we got Stu on the motion, we got Bill on the second, any discussion?
Just point of clarity, this one is going to the 22nd supplemental resolution as a fix for the record, as opposed to the 36, which is for the election.
Correct.
Okay. Small little technicality or something like
So
that.
huge technicality. We're moving to 22nd.
There you go. There you go.
Make sure we clear for the record.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion made by Stu, seconded by Bill, any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, now we are on
Thank
to
you, Mike.
operation updates. We have a number of updates of 5 operational matters this evening. Chris, what would you like to hear from?
All right, for the 10th Street substation, I'd like to have our substation foreman, Tony Rizzi, provide a presentation on this.
All right, so I'm gonna give an update on the 10th Street Substation Bus Number 2 overhaul that we completed last month. Next slide. So this is 10th Street Substation. It's behind Mr. Biggs. We have our canal that feeds the hydros on the left, the Shetucket River on the right. You can see the transmission lines come in from over the river. These are all the distribution circuits that come out of the station. You got bus 2, bus 1, and the 4800 bus. This is the bus that this whole project involved. Go to the next slide. So the station was constructed in 1953. The bus we overhauled was installed in 1991. We have a transmission line of 69,000 volts that feeds the station. That comes out of the Eversource substation in Preston. And we feed the city with 13.8 and 4800. And approximately on like this type of weather, we feed out about 18 megawatts. And we do Ockham, Greenville, Laurel Hill, the east side, West Thames, and downtown.
All on that.
All out of that station.
Oh,
So big chunk. Next slide. So this is the exterior and which you don't see too often, the interior of the bus. We did an inspection last February, found all this damage in there. Insulation has fallen off, and it's just covered in rust. So that's where I ended up presenting to Steve and Eric that we need to do an overhaul on this. And
switch
on the switchgear, yeah. So this is 13.8 thousand volts. It's easier to point. So these through bushings here, these had to be custom made.
Yep.
And it was about a 4-month lead time to get them. And all this insulation had to be custom cut. We had circuit breaker sales do that portion. But the biggest hurdle we had was to, in order to take this bus out, we had to take the whole station out. And it was a 7-week project, so we could take the station out for like a day or two. For 7 weeks, we can. We gotta have to find another source to be able to feed the other buses. Next slide. So this is the bushing that mounts to the bus that the breaker ends up racking into.
Yep.
And you see all the corrosion in here. And this is after we took all the bus out, the copper bus parts out, just covered in rust. Next slide. So
Erosion to occur over one period of time, or is this something that?
over time with moisture, because these are outside. So they do have heaters inside to keep them dry, but it's just over the years.
Ahead of time to make sure that they're not.
Yeah, that's what Tony,
So that was an inspection we did. It was first inspection probably 10 years where we actually
Discovered.
got into the internals, which you
So,
don't see.
so what really happened with this was you can't see it without taking the breaker. You gotta rack the breaker out and lower the edge.
Yeah.
We had a bushing fail in one of these cabinets. I got a call 4:30 in the morning and I never, ever want to get again. We got 6,000 out and I don't know if we can put them back on again. All right? It's not a problem anymore, but it was then. And so we started taking a look, right? Tony and your team were out there.
During that outage, we took a look and
And said, oh my goodness, we gotta do something here. So that's when this whole thing kicked into gear. And it's been probably 18 months, right? The entire.
since that initial one. And then
we
after
not
that,
only
yeah.
accomplished the
Inspection.
repairs, but we've also reconfigured things so that we are in a more reliable configuration overall. Should
Yes.
something occur.
Yeah.
Do you have spare cubicles in that switch?
This switchgear, there is a spare cubicle, but it's not fully built out.
Okay.
But there is a spare. The bus two next to it has a,
Is that where we run the same thing? We call them bulk stations in our 22K. Where I work. And, was this discovered during an IR inspection or, during?
no, it was during that outage.
Since
We
we
took
were
it into the outage condition, took a quick look.
So what is the vintage of the other switchgear in the city? And what is, do you guys have any inspection process you better put in place so we don't get back into this?
Yes, our new plan is every 5 years. to open
Okay.
them up.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. So in February, after this inspection, we got the ball rolling on CBS to order all the parts, get them made for us. But the biggest hurdle was being able to feed the station during those 7 weeks. So we hired an engineering firm for that. It took about 4 months of engineering to come up with a plan. And this is what we ended up doing. We purchased this temp breaker that we ended up feeding off of the high side of the transformer, ran all these temp cables for 13.8 and fed bus two to bypass this bus. So this work was all done in preparation for the outage. We prepped as much as we could, so the amount of work on the overnight was as small as possible.
Yep.
And part of that isn't just the physical work, it's all the relay and protection for this temp setup that we had to do as well, bus protection and transformer protection. So this was the overnight when we actually took the outage. That was on September 4th. And we had the whole line crew there and the substation guys, and they worked together very well. You see the breaker was already set. We had these stanchions built. The line guys set those in place for us, and we ended up terminating all the wires. That ended up being a 22-hour day to get everything done. So included 6 hours of switching on the front end, next transmission and our distribution. So part of it dealt with convex at Eversource and then in-house with our control room. And then about 4 hours of switching on the back end to restore it. So during this outage, See the overhead bus here?
Yep.
Those had to be removed. And that's what ended up isolating the bus so we could actually work on it. Next slide. This is the new internal after overhauling it.
It's very nice.
So brand new, everything, new epoxy, all the rust was removed. This is all the new insulation. This portion of it took about 3 weeks. And that was a combination of in-house and CBS doing it. Next slide. So this is the exterior. We ended up doing a 2-part epoxy on it and a roof coating. And while we had all this going on, we replaced the roof bushings, which is on the load side, on the line side. That's what actually failed during the outage Jeff was talking about. That's why we had this outage. We got those replaced as well. And then that 22-hour day, we had to do another one to end up getting this back online. Next slide. So the next step for the station, as you can see, the old electrical mechanical relays, those got to go. So we're in the process of working with an engineering firm to do a relay upgrade.
You guys use
For,
engineering company?
right now, Wonder Lake Mountain.
Yeah, we use Space.
They do, we use them for testing, not the design though. We use Baser and UPG.
They handle almost all our substation work at Pratt.
Yep, they've been here, we work with them. So this is in the design phase right now. Hopefully we can start physical work in the spring. That's it.
So you said this was designed in the 50s, right? And we've maintained it since then in its, in its current form. But the new substations, are they essentially houses that are internal, so everything's internal? And you can do a much better job of corrosion protection?
Most are, but not all. There's all different styles, so they still build them exterior like this. A lot of our, that temp breaker we used, the stations are actually built out of those exterior, like, those are the breakers instead of in cubicles.
But our Dudley substation outside, Bean Hill
Bean Hill inside. And you do see a difference when we did inspection on Bean Hill, completely different than this, the interior.
We asked a logical question. We put a roof on
Yeah,
it.
exactly, yeah.
The problem is because of that whole structure.
All the overhead bus.
Overhead buses, that's not practical, but you did make, it's better than new in the respect that you've added heaters, you've added gaskets, you've done things like that to maximize the protection. So it's better than it was originally, as far as preventing corrosion.
Oh, yeah.
I think that better would be, you've undercoated the car, but it's still outside.
How about the internal breakers in that substation? How often are they,
Every 3 years.
every 3 years?
Every 3 years they're maintained, and we're on a new schedule every 10 years to overhaul them.
We're taking them apart, sanding and scotch brights on the con.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Everything else.
our guys do that, yep. So we're doing more of that. So I used to do that at Millstone. So I'm trying to bring a lot of in here of that sort of maintenance.
Because, I know hospitals, it's a five-year plan for hospitals. Pratt and Whitney were designated by production
Yeah.
schedule, which is safe for
Yeah,
our
yeah,
technicians.
we're doing it because they're outside. Just to get eyes on them.
I mean, how often do you have, now we're installing IR windows in a lot of the older switch gears. Is that on your radar to do that?
We had talks about that in our meeting with our engineering team.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Was this the one where the road got in a couple of years ago?
No, that was a Dudley
Those-
substation, yeah.
We did have a bird incident.
And the- this is-
Yeah, we had blue heron on this.
We had blue hair.
This was the Heron?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was his last fish. That was his
Only the one with the big enough wingspan to get across all three bays.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes, unfortunately, the bird, yes.
Yes. I have pictures if you want to see it.
All righty. Looks like we're making really good progress here. Keep right on going. We got gas grant progress.
This will be the last one of the construction season, and there'll be more next construction season.
Yep, so as winter approaches, the installation of underground utilities on a planned basis obviously starts to wind down, so. This is just a summary sheet of what we've done in the last month of the previous year, 24, and what we've done all of this year. The grant is for $10 million, was about 4.25 miles of main to be replaced and nearly 200 services. And we're about 75, maybe 80% done as of today. We've completed all the mains and services on Asylum Street, Rockwell Crescent, Franklin Street, McKinley Avenue, a couple side streets off of McKinley, Spalding, Warren, and Freeman, and half of North Main Street along with 4th Street. All in all, that's 3.05 miles and 148 services completed. We will still be doing some pavement restoration work as long as weather permits. We'll start doing some of that work starting on Thursday here on North Main Street, and then we'll move over to Franklin and McKinley again as weather permits in December. And what that leaves for next year is the remainder of North Main Street, which is from 8th Street to about St. Regis. It's a little over 3/4 of a mile. And if funding allows, Beach Street is still speculated to be done as well. But we will be reconciling all the bills as we come this winter and sort of see where the grant stands and start working on the 2023 grant, prioritizing those streets as well. So that's about it.
Thank you. Question, next comment? Moving right along, wastewater treatment plant progress.
That's Matt Ross.
Thank you, Matt. Oh,
Bill, you had a question?
I had one question. I saw new installations, lateral installations, based on the project. Are those new or just replacement of pipe?
There's 3 scenarios. So sometimes we have a state-of-the-art service. It's already plastic. It already has an outdoor meter. All we have to do is change that service from the old main to the new main. Sometimes we'll have good plastic pipe to a house, but we have an inside meter, which we want to get moved outside. So we can reuse the pipe again, but just move the meters outside. That is a completely whole new service, which you want from the street to the house, so.
Will they
We have 3 of those.
new installations when people were previously on duct heat?
No.
No.
No, it's very specific. This grant is to replace aging and already in place.
We have funds available if we have a pipe running along a house to contribute to that and help those customers
For
out.
heating customers.
So we'll do a couple dozen a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe 3
Along, you know, a couple dozen along existing services. Just.
Good evening, board. So pardon the pun, but we put a lot of debt into service over the past week. We could go tomorrow. We had a kind of a busy day. This was just kind of a palette of photos showing forward flow shutdowns by introducing flow to a new primary tank. Isolating secondary effluent, aeration effluent, all to allow the contractor to put really a series of facilities, 6 new facilities into service by the end of that day. So not a lot to spend here, but if you go to the next slide, this is just a site plan of the overall, I'll say, wastewater plant. Just kind of now showing things. The status of the project, really sort of everything in green is new and operating today as we speak. Everything in orange is in progress, and then everything that's white is either unavailable to be constructed or is still status quo. So again, the bottom center, thickened sludge storage, that went into service the first week of October. New primary tank and scum station and 2 new secondary clarifiers and two pump stations went into service last week, and just share a few photos of those as we go forward. So this is the top photo is our fully upgraded first primary tank. It's gone from the traveling bridge equipment to chain and flight technology we also use in one of our water plants. So the top photo is just from the inflow end, looking along the length of the tank. I've been at the plant for maybe 20 months, and I have not seen the surface of a primary tank look that clean since I've been there. I mean, I can see the reflection of some of the equipment in the water, and then the bottom photo is at the other end of that tank, and to the right, where you kind of see the yellow bollards, and dedicated scale pump station for those tanks and helping keep that surface clean. Just moseying through. So our first two, only showing one here, but for their first two new secondary clarifiers are in service. That tank is full in the photo and treating wastewater. Just to the far right of that image, and again in the center of these two clarifiers we looked at previously is the new sludge pump station serving the needs of those two clarifiers, and again behind that station is another new scum pump station for those two tanks. Next photo. So, winter is going to become a lot more demolition and civil site type work again, but the contractor is still actively advancing mechanical equipment into aeration tank 2, which will obviously come online late next year. Next slide. And then our new admin and lab buildings are under construction. So top photos, kind of looking from the Yantic Riverside, Yantic behind you in the photo, lab to the left where the sheathing's being installed around the perimeter framing, and then admin slowly catching up to that building. And then the bottom photo is just an interior view of the new lab building at the moment. And then just a quick look ahead. So as soon as we put the two new firefighters into service last week, the contractor immediately started racing to work toward demolition of two smaller firefighters closer to the digester complex of the site. That complex continues to be dewatered. You may see the big gas dome disappear tomorrow if everything goes well. So we are probably like 30% through dewatering all of the sludge in the digesters. That'll continue into early next year, and then tear it down so the subcontractor can come back in and put in hundreds of more piles for the headworks. Something the plant desperately needs, as well as a vehicle utility garage for the plant vehicles, and then some of the other work will continue to lag behind. We're probably going to be quiet with startups, so to speak, until late next summer, early fall, and hopefully, again, we transition from chemical disinfection to physical disinfection with the light. And then I decided to add these little status bars just because we've kind of crossed the 50% mark, if you will, both in terms of schedule and costs. So again, we've got 53% of that debt into service. But I'll take any questions.
I don't have any questions, man. Unrelated, was there a helipad in that big circle driveway in the front there?
It's a turnaround for the city buses, and I don't know why it's painted. It doesn't.
It does look like a helipad to me. Yeah. It's just for the seat buses, okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
But it's a great job by the staff of commissioning and operating new equipment while we're still keeping all the old equipment around it running. So this is where it really is challenging, and our team is doing a great job of learning all these new components, how to run them effectively, and still make perfect. So it's not the easiest thing to do. And credit to Matt, Larry, and the team.
Yeah, that's a little short. These guys,
No,
our crews did a ridiculous job working. My contractor actually wanted to hire guys. Our wastewater staff is that good. And Matt could have been a guy who ran the project better than that. It's all engineering.
Have DEP been down at all and project engineer?
They'll be here tomorrow morning for our kind of monthly meeting with them, but beyond that, they were here in late summer for a site tour. But they'll periodically come back.
We went right up to Katie Dykes on that one. Katie Dykes, Nisha, rolled up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we said we have them back in summer when nicer weather, when things are actually running. So it'd be a good time for them to come down when it's looking, get through the cold months. We'll come back.
We're so happy with the contract.
We're very happy with the contractor, and
Good choice.
yes, thank you.
Amazing job, man. Thank you. Reservoir level is up next.
Larry's got a quick slide on this one, and we're starting to see a little improvement.
Yeah, I mean, it is only a 3-week shot, just it's really one slide. When you can see the far end, the tail is quickly coming back up. You gained almost 3% in the reservoir levels in 3 weeks. So again, it is kind of the same pattern over the last 5 years, but good news. And our biggest reservoir, Deep River, took the most increase, which is even better. And still is smaller drainage section, but good news. I think we're out of danger.
Good. And it happens faster once the ground freezes too. When it stops going.
Where do we stand on cleaning up the reservoir, the well, the backup well? Is that?
It's being designed right now. Probably I think we're getting 30% designs in about 2 more months. So we're under contract. We're moving along. Be a new building, PFAS treatment facility. But
Is that paid for or allocated? Have we paid for it at this point or allocated?
I don't know what the percentage is yet because it's under design once the bids open up. But normally it's a significant grant percentage or a long percentage, especially for environmental cleanup, that kind of stuff. So I hate to misspeak, but it's going to be more than the 20% you would get for a pipe in the ground.
Yeah, but the board has approved the entire project. The only time we'd have to come back is if we get a surprise when we
Yeah,
open.
we have survey, Toco wetlands mark out. We're talking to deep because of the floodplain issues, all that stuff. So the design's underway.
So the timing on when do you think that will be available?
Probably not till the end of 26, possibly early 27.
All right, because I don't, who knows what's gonna happen with rain and snow and the level of the reservoirs. But I mean, that's our backup, so.
We have regional interconnect.
We have regional interconnects itself, but it's in the middle,
This is cheaper than regional interconnect.
I mean, but in the middle of the city for 1 million gallons a day, I mean, we can start using it for water quality purposes, like with summertime, water gets hot, it gets old, and that's in the middle of the city. Industrial park tank and the water frankly would be 7 days old, as opposed to 30, so it's a very valuable resource that we needed to take care of.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up is we have our technology plan.
Quick, status report is really, we're going through the interview process. We have 2 interviews scheduled for tomorrow, 1 scheduled the week of Thanksgiving. Hopefully we'll have to partner, first week in December timeframe. So we had 9 candidates. We get it down to 3, normally between 2 and 4, depending on, what we see in our proposal, and then we do an interview process.
All righty. So with that being said, thank you so much, Mary Lou, for the update. We are going to go into the executive session. Chris, who would you like to have stay for executive session?
CU team, Chris and Simone, stand.
I'm gonna have a wonderful island holiday. All right. Yeah. Have a wonderful holiday, everyone.
Make it all.
Yeah, we do that. We do that after the meeting. We have to do a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, let's do a motion to go into executive session. Motion made by Sue. Can I get a second? Bill. Any discussions? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. So in executive session, we're here to discuss confidential trading, commercially valuable, confidential or proprietary information not subject to expression or public disclosures pursuant to section 1-210, section 5, and 7-232A of the Connecticut General Statutes. Information is commercially valuable, confidential, and proprietary and is not subject to public disclosure pursuant to Public Act number 98-212 to discuss personal matters of employees and or public official pursuant to chapter 14, section 1-200, 6A of the General Statutes, Connecticut General Statutes. That being said, we're now in executive session. I would like to lead this off first.
All right, it's gonna be very brief tonight. We're just gonna be talking about, down at, Second Street, and Bloom down there. And, we have, just served, his two, technical consultants. One is a, engineering firm and one is a land surveyor. And we're trying to do is, make sure.
All those in favor?
And thank you, yeah, and thank you, because I can retire in peace now.
Seriously, we got 2 months left. When is it on?
In July.
There's a lot of things I gotta sign off over so they can be followed up in January.
I apologize for that.
We got it done.
We got it done, yeah, we break some speed records, we got it done.
Got it done, that's the important part.